is Excel. And I just wanted to give a quick review of what Excel can do and some of the features and functions in Excel. So here's a blank worksheet. Down here is a scaling tool when you can scale up or down the size of the spreadsheet for viewing. We also have these three buttons here which change the viewing area for page layout, page break, and typically most of the time you leave it on a standard grid. Okay. Down here we have the ability to make different worksheets. So this is called a workbook, and here we can add numerous worksheets, and by double clicking we can rename each of these tabs, and we can also color them. Well, there's a color tab where you can't. You might not be. I think it falls off the menu a little bit, but if you right-click, an instructional tab will come up for additional actions you can do with each worksheet. Now at the top we have what's called the ribbon. So the ribbon is the collection of numerous tools that's going to be very useful for manipulating and playing with an Excel file. So let me call up an Excel file with some data. Okay, here's a case with some data. So let me just make this a little bit bigger by scaling it up so you can see. Okay, so in the ribbon you have your pasting function here. So if you're going to be cutting and pasting, this is your cut, your copy, and then a very special tool is this format paster. So copying, formatting. So for example, if I had some numbers here, so let's say I have some numbers in here, and I wanted to, let me just copy this down. So I had some numbers in here, and I wanted to copy the formatting. I can quickly just check here, and the formatting will copy over. So over here, so maybe in the tools here, I have a quick formatter for currency. Now, if this currency happens to be in a foreign currency, I can click this $ here and get into, say, euros. I can also change the amount of change on that. Let's see, if I open up more numbering formats, and I get this grid box where I could do custom, special, and if I'm going to currency, maybe this isn't a default accounting currency, so I want a currency, let's see, and maybe I want a format where we'll put a red if it's negative, and I can apply that. So now I have a different currency format here. If it happened to be a negative number, it would come up red. Maybe I don't want to have yellow as a color background. Maybe I want a more softer color. I could do that. So then when I highlight the column and hit this paintbrush, I can quickly bring the formatting over to another column. Okay, here is, in this column we have, just like in Word, we could change the font if we wanted to adjust the font and then the font size, and we have these quick up or down font buttons here. We can bold, underline the text. We could set it, we could put borders around the walls if we wanted to. We could put thick borders. So all sorts of different things we can do here. And this we showed you before. We could change the color of a cell, change the color of a text. Okay, over here is the alignment. So we could switch the alignment from right, left, or center. We have some special buttons here as far as the orientation of the text. Let's change that. And up here in the top green bar, I have some dedicated functions like redo and undo, save, sum, print view, print page. These can be formatted by clicking this down drop and adding more commands. So this could be your quick bar up here, which these always stay fixed no matter what page you're on in the ribbon. Okay, now if we have a long So if we have a long title here that doesn't quite fit the cell, we could do a wrap text, which will make sure it wraps around in the cell, like this. Product. We also have merge cells. So if we wanted to take a couple of cells here, and I can merge them into one giant cell. So sometimes that's useful. Okay, these are the formatting tools here between dollars, percents, comma style. And this tool here, you can adjust the amount of the decimal places. Very useful, because for large numbers, we typically don't want to display big decimal places. Okay, here we have some formatting tools. We can insert cells, rows, columns. So here I inserted a new column. We can delete. We have a formatting option. Okay, so that's pretty much what I'm going to go around this first. Now we have the Insert tab. This is where we can insert pivot tables. Something we're doing in week 1. We can insert a table, illustrations, insert charts, insert a map. So this is just a chart map here. I'm gonna delete. You have to have the right data set. So if I wanted to kind of highlight this, I could go to insert a chart, and then it will paste the chart automatically for me. There's definitely going to be more in charting later, but the insert also has special things like slicers, sparkles, and the sparkle is so if you select a data range, the sparkle is just, let me cancel that. All right. Sparkle is just like a mini chart. Nothing interesting. Things we'll learn later on in the course. You can insert a comment, which is an interesting thing to do here. So if you're on a cell, you can insert a comment. So when the comment is inserted, if you hover over it, the comment will appear. So it's a good way of leaving notes for your coworkers or notes for me if you wanted to make sure I realize something while I'm grading, or just give a little additional information. There's also this text where we could easily add a header, a footer, or a text box. So a text box is just a independent box where you can put additional information in, and we use these when we create the executive summary. All right. Okay, so let's move into. Oh, there's also symbols. I like this special symbols where sometimes I want to use create an equation, and you can create an equation here. So there would be the equation, or maybe you can just use a special symbol. I like to use this change symbol a lot. You have to have copyright, things of this nature, but I like to use this triangle, which denotes change. But you can see they actually added a lot more in the last update. So there's a lot of, so I'll just use this red one. So I could use this, which would be like a change symbol. So a lot of cool things you can do with symbols. Okay, so draw. Moving to draw. This is something that's not so common with Excel, but you can kind of draw in cells. I guess it could be useful if you're trying to detail something, but these are similar drawing tools that you might have in Word. And of course you can erase. So it's nothing that you haven't done before in another program. It's just kind of added here. Page layout. This is important as far as if you want selecting a color scheme. themes for your page. So this is just a quick formatting tool. This is an important area for setting margins, orientation. So I can do the normal margins. I might want to orientate landscape, size of the paper, set a print area. So I can highlight and I can set a print area. I could set page breaks within the print area. I could create a background if I wanted to. Printing titles. So this is where I would set up a printing range, rows to repeat at the top. So maybe I want this row to repeat at the top. Could add in grid lines if I want to, change the margins, add a header or a footer. Okay. Let's see. And then if you want to see what this would look like, if you come down here to the page layout preview, now we'll show you what the formatted area will look like. You can see that some of it's hanging out over here. It's looking kind of messy. So you could go into size, you could go back into print titles, and on the page you could say shrink this, maybe I want it at 75%. So now you can see it fits the one page and looks a lot better. So that's a quick way of doing a print preview. Okay, and these are some other formatting functions on the page layout, just all about how the page is going to look when it's printed. And print range is a requirement for this class. Okay, formulas. This is an important area where we can insert different functions that we may want to use, or lookup functions. That's why it's good to use that textbook I showed you on the other page to get ideas of functions or how those functionalities work. So it comes with a formula builder, which gives you a step-by-step organization of how to build a formula. So I think that's a lot easier to build a formula that way than to try to build it scratch from the information line. Just a hint there. Okay, so we also have the auto sum. So this would be an auto sum. So I'm going to use a quick key here to get to the bottom of the column. So I didn't page down, just use a quick key. And then I could use this auto sum and it'll automatically put the summation formula in the column for me. If I double click the column between, I can resize it. I can also grab and resize the columns and the rows as much as I want. Okay, use the quick key to get to the top of the page again. This will just show you can organize the formulas in different financial functions, logical, text, date, and time. So this is just an organization of the different functions you can use in the class. Okay, so this is defining names of an area in the spreadsheet if you wanted to. Trace dependencies, so this is where we could see, if we click this, we see where the information is coming from to build the formula from using these two cells. And then there's also a sum at the bottom. So these are good to quickly find out if you want to know how a formula is being calculated or what cells it's drawing on. Use trace dependencies. I use this a lot, show formulas. So I'll click here so I can see the formulas you built, and if you did build formulas. So show formulas is a quick way for me to kind of see what you've been doing. Okay, so there's some calculation functions here that you could learn about. Let's move over to the data tab. So the data tab, this is where we could do our sorting. So if I hit, I'm going to just right click and delete this column here, and I'll just delete these columns here. Okay. Let me put a value here. All right. So now if I wanted to, let me delete this and delete that. So you should never have double titles. So you see here, there were double titles. You should never have. It shouldn't just be one row should be titles because it makes it difficult to sort. You can't sort with double titles. So if I wanted to sort, I could use my quick key, Control A, to highlight the whole area. And then I can sort, and I can pick, maybe I want to sort here by, just going to use the titles. So if I have titles, it'll say, this little check mark will say my list has headers. If I uncheck that, it's just going to go to the default columns, but I don't want to sort my headers with my data, so I'm going to put my headers back on, and I want to sort under product name, and then I can also add a second level Okay, then sort by the price. So we'll sort by column A first and then column B. And I can take largest to smallest or A to Z. So let me hit OK. So now it's going to resort this section. There's also filter. So if I wanted to place filters on my, you see these little drop down boxes opened up, and I can filter by different selections. So here if I wanted to filter by just one couple different products, I could do that. So it's I can ascend or descend, do some sorting in here. So the filter, I'm going to clear a filter. These filters are pretty useful as far as organizing and viewing the data quickly. And you can do some advanced sorts, and these are just quick sorts here. So if I just hit Control A to click the area, I have some quick A to Z sorts here, which just does ascending and descending on the first column. Okay. We also have in here, which is interesting, we have the text to columns. So if I wanted to break out, let me open up a column here and say I wanted to do a text to column and I wanted to break the P. Let's see, go back, fixed width. And I wanted to break away the P from the number. It would now put it into two columns, the P here and break the number out here. So that's useful. Flash fill. So if I had a formula like this, I could use that this flash fill to calculate it. An easier orientation would be when this white plus turns to a black plus, I can double click the flash fill. Data validation, this is something that's a little bit more advanced. We'll be looking at that later in other cases. And what if analysis, something we'll also be doing, such as goal seek, data table, scenario manager, pretty cool stuff. And then we could group. So if I wanted to group this set of 10 columns, I could go like this and I could group it into a button. So I could take another set and I could group, or I could ungroup. So this is a way of, so if we go to level 2, I could see the groups, and here is the way things are grouped. So this is just kind of being able to quickly hide some cells if I wanted to. All right, and Solver is another data functional tool. Something a little too complex to go in here, but these are different things that help. If we have a question of how do we get to a certain number, Solver can help solve it by doing permutations. Okay, review. So in here you can do a spell check. So a spell check is good. We'll check your spelling errors. The thesaurus, you can get workbook. I'm not sure what this is actually. I've never used that. So I guess, oh, this is going to be the statistics on the spreadsheet itself. Let's see, you can add comments here. So this is also another place where you can insert comments quickly. Add, delete, show comments. So if you show comments, it just says if there's a comment, you'll see that here. Notes that could be leaving a note. So a note is like a comment. It's just formatted differently. I usually tend to leave the notes will disappear, but if you highlight here, if you say show hide note, the notes can be made permanently displayed. Now you see me do this in a lot of the documents that I work with you. It makes an arrow to the note. So pretty cool to set that up. So notes are similar to comments. Protect or a worksheet is a way of preventing people from changing in the worksheet. And then you can also set permissions on what can be done. Okay, so if we go to the view page, this is where sort of these views down here, we have them back up here, normal, page break, page layout. Custom views can be created. You can turn on, let's see, so you can turn on or off rulers, grid lines, formula bar, headings. So these are just different things you can manipulate as far as what you're seeing on the page. This is the zoom, similar to down here is the zoom. How to arrange, if you have multiple windows, you can arrange them in one sheet. So if I wanted to do vertical, I have arrange them. Okay. So let me bring back and resize this. Just gotta resize this now because the recording area is smaller than. So that basically the view is if you wanted to view multiple worksheets in the same viewing. Okay. Record macros. This is something that we're going to be doing later on in the class, recording macros, which is the set of instructions. Pretty cool stuff. Developer. This is more advanced developer. If we're going to do put some more advanced types of controls in the spreadsheet, like buttons, a button option here. We could put a checkbox. So if we want to have a checkbox that people could put checks in, this cool little stuff, spinners and different things can be done here, as well as the macros are here too. Okay, so that's my quick overview of the ribbon, where a lot of the tools are on just the most frequently used functions are there, commands. Now if you put this little pull down up here, and autosave is something you may want to have on to autosave. That means it'll save your work for you every set amount of time. I usually leave the autosave off because sometimes I might be doing something I don't want it to autosave because I might have to change it back in a minute. So it's sometimes useful, sometimes not useful. But if I pull this down and I say more commands, this will list all of the commands, the popular commands. You could say all commands. So this would list all the commands possible in Excel. And this is where this is my quick toolbar up here. So if I wanted to add any of these commands, let's see. So and if you go by tab, it'll list the commands by tab. So if I wanted to say new note, I can move this over here. And then when I save it, you'll see that icon now appears up here. So it's just, this is a permanent quick bar for quick little comments you want to utilize. Okay. Now, so the ribbon is probably the most useful tool in quickly getting things done in Excel. And most of what we're going to be working with in this class is going to be off that quick tool. Now, some other ways to get help in Excel. Excel itself has a search bar. Excel itself has a help function that's based out of the search bar. You could also utilize the textbook I showed you earlier, which is going to detail all of the functions in Excel and other common components of Excel quickly. You could also look up pretty much anything that I ask you to do in this class. There's going to be about over 10,000 Excel videos demonstrating how to use particular functions or tools. So you could always go to Excel and type in the function you're using in Excel, and there'll be multiple videos on how to utilize that function or that formula. That's another quick way of learning how to do things in Excel. And of course, in the CFI courses, there'll be an Excel crash course and an Excel advanced course, which will give you several hours of Excel training. And why this is important is because Excel is what, when you first get hired, it's generally the first skill employers are going to expect you to have. And it may be where some of your first tasks are. And if you could really show them that you can do things quickly and efficiently and professionally in Excel, that will promote them, instill more confidence in you. It may even be something they ask you about during an interview, and some companies actually will give you an Excel exam or a case study in Excel before they hire you. I know investment banks do this a lot. So it's going to be a skill that's going to be invaluable to you. So you might as well take your time during this class to learn it, understand it, and know it well. Okay, so that's been my sort of quick overview of Excel video that I want to just kind of give you an explanation of the layout of Excel and how things work. And remember, if you're a Stony Brook student, you get a free Office package which includes Excel, and you don't want to use Excel on the cloud, or what they call the 365 Excel in the cloud. You always want to use the Excel that you download to your MacBook, laptop, PC, and because that includes all the functionality. If you use, there is like access to Microsoft 365, which you also get, which is the cloud-based Excel, which has limited functionality. So always try and work with the Excel program that's launches off of your computer. Okay, so that's it for my quick overview of Excel. Excel is really something that it's like playing a musical instrument. You don't learn it after a 30-minute lesson. You really have to experience it and work with it to be able to make it a tool that's more intuitive to yourself. So it just takes many hours to be proficient and competent in Excel. And I would think at least 100 hours of use of Excel before you're actually functionally useful with Excel. Okay. Anyway, thank you for your time. I hope you find the rest of the course helpful. I'll be talking to you soon.